We didn't move for adventure. We moved for quiet. Greyhaven promised slower days, sea air, honest work, empty nights, a clean restart, before the rat race found us again.
The place was tiny. 2 streets, a dock, a school, and a church carved from salt, stained wood. Population 235. Small enough that secrets don't hide. They wait.
Everyone welcomed us like family. Warm smiles, helping hands, offers of soup and spare blankets. It felt too easy, like the village had been waiting and we'd arrived right on time.
Our house was small and tired, but it was ours. A porch that creaked, windows fogged with salt air, and quiet so deep it felt earned. Claire called it a fresh page.
That first night, the fog didn't drift in like weather. It arrived, quiet and deliberate, pressing at the glass like it knew our names, like it had been waiting for the lights to come on.
That Claire got the teaching job immediately. No long interview, no waiting, just a smile, a handshake, and keys in her palm, like the school had been holding the position open for her.
I took odd jobs, repairs, fences, hauling wet timber. The money wasn't great, but the locals kept me busy. And every smile came with the same promise. You'll fit in here.
Down at the docks, a bell rang even when the water was calm. A fisherman told me it wasn't for boats. It was to remind the fog that Greyhaven was awake.
Claire said the kids drew the same thing again and again. Gray waves, blank skies, little boats in mist. They called them fog days, like holidays, like the fog belonged to them.
The church didn't have a cross, just a spiral carved into salt-stained wood, like a breath curling in cold air. Nobody explained it. Nobody acted like it was strange.
The mayor toasted us like we'd done them a favor. Then he mentioned the welcome lantern sail, a tiny 2-seat boat just for us. A Greyhaven tradition, he said, smiling too calmly.
Markers. 27 showed up everywhere. Not decoration markers. Knots in rope. Shells in jars. Scratches in wood. Greyhaven counted like it was afraid to forget, or afraid to miss its turn.
I whistled on the porch once. A neighbor crossed the street fast, smiling too hard, and shook his head. Don't do that, he warned. It calls attention. To what? He wouldn't say.
They gave Claire a carved driftwood charm. For protection, they said. And they insisted it belonged inside, by the door. The second it crossed our threshold, the hallway felt claimed.
When the tide dropped, Greyhaven changed. Men hauled boats up early. Nets disappeared. Doors latched. Low tide isn't safe, they said. Like the sea exposed something the fog didn't want us to see.
In the village library, whole years were missing. Empty gaps on the shelves, torn pages in the records. They blamed storm damage, but the books weren't ruined. They were removed.
We argued for the first time in months. Not shouting, worse. Quiet voices and tight jaws. Because neither of us wanted to say it out loud that Greyhaven felt like it wanted something from us.
The principal kept thanking Claire for joining them, not teaching, not helping the kids, joining them. And every time she said it, her smile stayed a second too long.
The ferry canceled again. No storm, no warning, just fog, thick enough to erase the channel. And the locals didn't complain. They looked relieved, like the fog had decided to spare them.
Claire started dreaming about water, about a small boat drifting where the shore should be. She said she couldn't see land, but she could hear singing, far away, like it was waiting for her.
One of her students looked up and said,
Very calmly, "It's almost time." Claire asked, "Time for what?" The child blinked once and whispered, "For the breath to eat."
I found a boat shed that didn't match the rest of town. Inside were boats that were all the same. 2 seats, low sides, spiral carvings. Not built for fishing, built for one purpose. People kept telling me, "You're safe here." Over and over. Like a blessing. Like a warning. And every time they said it, their smiles looked relieved. Like the fog wasn't the only thing watching.
That night I watched the fog move against the wind. Not swirling, choosing. And for the first time I felt it notice me. Like I'd stepped into its line of sight.
Claire found the dock song printed like a classroom exercise. Simple words, easy melody, but one line repeated like a command. We open the way. We welcome the breath.
We finally asked about 27. The room went quiet for half a breath, then laughter. Old superstition, the mayor said. But his eyes warned everyone. Don't say more.
They gave us a friendly little tour. Dock, school, church, everything they wanted us to see. But every time we drifted toward the marsh, someone gently guided us back, smiling the whole time.
Near the marsh there was a sign. Old, weather-beaten, almost blank. Like someone had scraped the warning away. But the path beyond it looked darker, and the fog sat there, patient.
In Greyhaven, the rules lived at doorways. Every visit ended with the same ritual. Smiles, a nod, and that word, welcome. Like manners, like permission, like a lock clicking shut.
Tried something stupid. Walked right up to the fog and waited for it to swallow me. But it stopped at an invisible line, hanging there like it was polite. Or patient.
And Ethan wanted to hang the charm outside, keep it from inviting anything in. But the neighbor insisted, inside, always inside. Claire laughed it off, and I watched Ethan's face tighten like he just lost an argument he couldn't explain.
At dusk, the docks went quiet, and then the singing started. Soft, rehearsed. Not for comfort, for permission. Like Greyhaven was reminding the fog it was welcome to wait.
The mayor found us in the crowd and held our gaze. No smile this time. Just a calm, measuring look, like he was counting something in his head. And we fit the number perfectly.
The town kept giving us things. Small, thoughtful gifts. Keys, tokens, a lantern for the fog. It was meant to feel like belonging. But in my pocket, it felt like they were locking us in.
Claire said the children practiced a fog song like a morning pledge. When one kid skipped a line, the assistant stopped everything. Too fast, too serious, and made them start again until it sounded perfect.
In the staff room, Claire found the calendar. Every page beyond this month torn out. Not by accident, clean rips. Like Greyhaven didn't believe in futures, only dates it had to survive.
At the dock office, I tried a door that should have been unlocked. It didn't budge, not jammed, held. Like something on the other side was leaning back, quietly refusing.
We bought a paper map at the general store, but the road out wasn't on it. Or maybe it had been, because someone had drawn over it, thick and dark, like Greyhaven wanted the world to forget where it was.
The radio only played weather reports. No music. No news. Just fog advisories on repeat, like the whole town lived inside a warning. And someone didn't want us hearing anything else.
We tried calling out. Every call dropped at the exact same second, like a timer. Ethan tested it 3 times. Same result. Greyhaven didn't just feel remote. It felt disconnected on purpose.
The next morning, the car wouldn't start. Battery fine. Engine turning. Then nothing. Ethan tried again and again, and the fog outside the windshield sat perfectly still, like it was listening.
The mechanic checked the car and shrugged. "Nothing wrong," he said, then waved away Ethan's money. "Don't worry, you'll pay the town back later." The way he said later felt scheduled.
That evening, a lantern appeared on our porch. Not lit, waiting, no note, no name. Just a gentle hint from the town. It's time to walk down to the water and bring a light.
We carried the lantern through the village like it was normal. Porch lights dimmed as we passed. Curtains moved, and the fog at the end of the street waited, patient as a doorway.
At the dock, the boat was already there. 2 seats, low sides, spiral carved into the bow. It wasn't a gift. It was a stage, set up before we ever arrived.
The rope was already loose. It slid over the cleat like a living thing, quiet, practiced, until the boat drifted just far enough that turning back felt rude, and stepping in felt inevitable.
They didn't come close. They stood back in the dark like an audience, faces half lit, smiling softly. Not cruel, grateful. Like what was about to happen meant they'd get to wake up tomorrow.
We stepped into the boat because it felt easier than making a scene, because everyone was watching so quietly, and because, for a second, it felt like refusing would be breaking a rule we didn't know we'd agreed to.
The boat moved without a push, no hands on the hull, no oar in the water. It just slid away from the dock like it had done it 100 times, like the fog was gently reeling us in.
Only then did Ethan notice there was no oar, no motor, nothing to steer with. The boat wasn't taking us out to sea. It was taking us to wherever the fog wanted.
The dock lights blurred, then vanished. Not because we were far, because the fog decided it was done with the village. And once Greyhaven disappeared behind us, it felt like the rules changed. The fog didn't just hide the dock. It sealed it. The gap behind us filled in like a closing door.
Ethan turned back twice, then stopped, because there was nothing left to look at.
Then we heard it, breathing, not ours. Slow and deep, like the fog had lungs. The boat rocked once, gently, like something huge had passed beneath us without touching.
The water went still. Too still. No ripples. No tide. Like the sea was holding its breath with us. And the fog ahead looked thicker. Like a mouth learning how to open.
The fog parted ahead of us just enough to make a path. Not wide, not kind. A narrow channel like it was guiding the boat. Like it had decided where we belonged.
A shoreline surfaced through the fog. Not Greyhaven, no lights, no houses. Just a strip of black sand and dead grass, like the world ended there. And something began.
There was a post in the sand, half rotted, like a marker. The spiral was carved into it, fresh, sharp. Not a warning, a label, like this place had been waiting for exactly us.
The boat scraped the sand and stopped, gentle, careful, like it didn't want to damage its cargo. For one stupid second, I thought we'd landed. Then the fog behind us shifted, and I understood. This wasn't escape, it was delivery.
We stepped onto the sand and it felt wrong. Too cold, too soft, like wet ash. Ethan tested it with his boot and the prints filled in behind him, quietly erasing proof we'd ever arrived.
Up the beach, they'd built something simple. Rope, driftwood, 27 knots tied with care. Not a trap, an offering frame. Like whoever came here was expected to stand still and be counted.
Across the water, the dock song drifted in, faint and steady. Not close enough to see anyone. Just the sound, carried by fog like a message. Like Greyhaven was telling the breath they're here.
Ethan grabbed Claire's hand and backed away. Then the rope shifted, not in the wind, toward us. A loose end slid across the sand, patient and sure, like it already knew our names.
Ethan ran, 3 steps, full force, and it was like the beach took the speed away. His boots sank. The sand clung. Not quicksand, worse. Like the ground itself didn't want him leaving.
Claire didn't fall. She didn't trip. She was pulled, one careful step at a time, like someone invisible was leading her, gentle, polite, like the beach had manners, and she was expected to follow.
The rope lifted on its own, slow and careful, until the knots lined up with their bodies, like it was measuring them, counting, matching the offering to the frame that had been waiting in the sand.
It didn't tie us, it claimed us. The rope snapped tight across the posts, and the sand around our boots hardened like wet cement. Not pain, just certainty. Like the beach had finally decided, you don't leave.
The fog didn't rush us. It didn't chase, it just arrived closer, like distance stopped working. One blink, and the wall of gray was right there, near enough to feel cold on our faces.
Ethan lifted his hand into the fog. The mist pressed back, soft, curious, leaving a shape on his skin like a cold handprint. Then it vanished, like it was deciding whether we were enough.
Then the fog started counting, not with words, breaths. Slow, measured pulses that came 27 times. And with each one, the air got colder, like the world was preparing to take something back.
The 27th breath, the sea answered. Not a wave, something deeper. The sand trembled, the fog leaned in, and I felt it like a decision being made. Accepted.
The boat slid back onto the shore, empty, like it was offering us a choice. But there was no oar this time either, just wet wood, open seats, and the fog behind it, holding the only way home.
We didn't climb in like before. The boat insisted. The sand held our feet, the fog pressed at our backs, and the seats waited. 2 open places shaped like a decision already made. The boat pulled away before we were ready. Not drifting now, moving with purpose. The shoreline shrank behind us, and the fog ahead opened like a throat. Greyhaven didn't need to watch anymore.
The strangest part wasn't what we saw. It was what we stopped hearing. The water went quiet. The wind went quiet. Even our breathing sounded far away, like the fog had swallowed the world and left us inside it.
And the boat stopped. Not slowing, stopping. Like it bumped an invisible wall in the fog. The water stayed smooth, the air stayed still, and we sat there, waiting to be taken.
Something dark spread under the hull. Not a shadow from the sky, there was no sky. It was beneath us, blooming outward like ink in water, and the boat went perfectly still.
Claire reached for Ethan like it could anchor her to something real. The fog pressed in from every side, soft and heavy, until the boat felt smaller, like the world was shrinking, to one final moment.
The boat didn't tip. It didn't capsize, it just sank. Straight down, slow as a decision. Water climbed the boards, cold and quiet, like the sea was taking its time, because it knew we couldn't stop it.
Ethan tried to scoop the water out with his hands, but it didn't behave like water. It clung to the wood, crawling upward in slow sheets, like the sea wasn't leaking in. It was being invited.
Claire closed her eyes like a child, whispering nothing because sound was useless. But the fog leaned closer anyway. Not to comfort her, to listen. Like silence was the loudest offering of all.
Our breath stopped showing. Not because we calmed down, because the cold stole it. The air felt thick, wet, and heavy, like we were breathing inside the fog, not through it.
Ethan looked back one last time. Not for the town, just for direction. But there was no horizon. No lights, no shore, only fog.
every direction like the world had been erased.
The fog got heavier, not thicker, heavier, like it settled on our shoulders and pushed us down into the boat. The water climbed again, and the air tasted like cold metal, like a mouth closing.
Claire gripped the boat so hard her fingers turned pale. Then she realized she couldn't feel the wood at all. Like the cold had moved inside her, quietly taking pieces, one at a time.
Ethan leaned over the side and went still. His face changed like he'd seen a shape in the water, something close. He didn't point, he didn't speak. He just pulled back, like the sea had shown him the answer.
A strand of Claire's hair lifted, like someone had breathed on it. The fog curled around her cheek, soft as a fingertip, then pulled away. Not attacking, testing, learning.
The boat sank until the water reached the seats. Everything below was gone, swallowed, like the sea was patient enough to take it piece by piece, so we'd understand exactly what was happening.
Ethan shifted his weight, and his foot slipped into the water. He jerked back like the cold had teeth. For a second he looked at me, shocked. Then the boat sank again, as if it didn't care what we felt.
The seats disappeared. 1 second we were above the water. Then the boat dropped and everything went cold. The fog thickened, the world narrowed, and I understood. This was the sacrifice. This was the handover.
I held Ethan's sleeve and felt him slip, slowly, quietly, like the water was unthreading us. No splash, no fight. Just a hand that wasn't there anymore, and fog filling the space it left.
The fog didn't feel like air anymore. It felt like water. Claire tried to inhale, and the world turned heavy and cold. The boat vanished beneath her, and the fog filled everything.
And then there was nothing. No boat, no ripples, no proof. Just fog on black water, perfectly calm. Like the sea had swallowed the sacrifice and cleaned its mouth.
By morning, Greyhaven looked ordinary again. Nets hung to dry, coffee steamed in windows. The fog drifted out like it had never been here, because for them, it hadn't. Not anymore.
At the school, the door was unlocked like always. Her classroom sat ready, chalk clean, chairs straight. The lesson plan still on the desk. And not one person in that town said her name out loud.
By lunchtime, there was a new notice on the board. A vacancy, a clean space where her name should have been. Like the town could erase a person the same way the fog erased the water.
When the landlord unlocked their place, it didn't look robbed, it looked reset. The closet was empty, the drawers were bare. Even the dust marks where boxes had sat were gone, like the house had never been lived in at all.
That night, someone opened the old ledger and added a new line. No name spoken, just a mark, a tally for the fog. Then the book was shut, gentle as a prayer, because Greyhaven had bought itself 27 more years.
Before dawn, the fog slid back out to sea, not fading, leaving, like it had finished eating. The water lay calm again, and Greyhaven woke up grateful, because the breath had been fed.
If you heard the breath, it heard you too. Subscribe for more horror stories, because Greyhaven won't be the last place the fog gets hungry.